Hey guys, Lisa Salvatore here. Welcome to March. We are in another month. I cannot believe it's March already. Today is March 3rd that I'm recording this video. On Sunday, which was February 28th, I believe, I was in my kitchen cooking, and I remember thinking that I felt lighter. I felt different. I felt a shift had happened, an energetic shift. And then I realized, oh, Mars is moving into Gemini. So Mars has spent the past 6 weeks or so in Taurus. And today, March 3rd, he actually officially enters Gemini. But we do start to feel that energy prior and then after a planet leaves a specific sign, we still do feel the residual energy. So this is likely something that we've been experiencing the past week to 10 days, where Mars was getting ready to change his perch, to vacate his position in Taurus and move into his throne of Gemini. So what does that mean in regular language here? Well, think about Mars. Well, first of all, let me say that March, the month of March overall, is definitely going to feel lighter. It's a breath of fresh air, and we all need it, because January and February, and let's not forget the months prior, have definitely felt dense and heavy and limiting and depressing at times and sobering in a lot of different ways for everybody, and in many different ways for everybody. But I think we're all in agreement about that. Having said that, of course, there's always positive peppered throughout, but having said that, March overall, astrologically, cosmically, will be lighter, okay? So it will feel lighter, because the planets do govern how we feel, as above, so below, as within, so without. I mean, it's just the way that it is. Planets are bodies of energy, they move, and as they move, they trigger other planets, and then those planets trigger what happens down here, weather, personal, it's all connected. Even if you're not astrologically, what's the word, knowledgeable, it's not even just about the planetary aspects. Just think about this from the energetic perspective. So having said that, the month of March will feel lighter. It will. We've got some nice, first of all, we've got no planets retrograde, so none of the planets are moving backwards. We will not experience retrograde of any of the planets again until the end of April, I believe. So basically from now until then, it's like all systems a go, but of course within reason, right? Because yes, the planets do dictate certain things, but of course our free will always produce the final result. So let's keep that in mind. So March, the biggie, couple of biggies, but the first one that I wanted to mention, and I did mention, is that Mars moves into Gemini today, March 3rd. And Mars is the planet that gives us our drive, it's our force, it's our vitality, it's our energy. It's also our anger, our motivation, our sex drive. He rules over all of that. And so when he was in Aries back at the beginning of the year, and before that, because he spends a very long time in Aries, when Mars was in Aries, it was like, go, 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 fight, fight, fight. I don't care. The finger was on the hot button. Reactions were, personally, collectively, there was a lot going on. It felt very heated, very, very heated. And even if you just go back and think about what had been happening on the world stage during that time, you can see how that played out with the Mars energy in Aries. Then Mars shifted into Taurus at the beginning of January, and he kind of slowed down a little bit. Not that he wanted to slow down, because Mars doesn't really want to slow down. He wants to plow through. And he got into Taurus, and it was like, okay, you have to slow down now. And again, Mars doesn't like to necessarily be in Taurus, because the bull likes to take its time. But the bull will still charge when provoked, and it's always a slow boil. So we did still feel a lot of that energy and the irritation there, but it might have been just a little bit slower. And therefore, our energy levels also slowed down. So you may have found that the past 4 to 6 weeks, while Mars was in Taurus, could have felt like a little bit more on the lazy side, not wanting to do as much as you're used to energetically, just overall feeling like this energy of just dense, not really wanting to do much. Could chalk that up to Mars in Taurus. You would also want to look to your own personal birth chart to see what your Mars is doing, what sign he's in, because that will also give you an idea of which way that goes for you. But now that Mars is in Gemini is an air sign. Gemini is communicative, expressive, loves to be in the know with everything, and flits. I mean, think about a butterfly flitting from flower to flower. That's always how I use the analogy with Gemini, because that to me is what Gemini energy is. But with Mars there, it's like you can be involved in 2, 3, 4, 5 different projects at the same time, because that's Gemini. Gemini has its hands in many different things. And so with Mars here, the action planet in Gemini for the next 6 weeks, he's in Gemini March 3rd till April 23rd, I believe. While Mars is here, we are more motivated. We can feel more expressive. We can feel more extroverted, more lively. But be careful that you don't spin out too hard, especially if you are a Mars in Gemini or if you've got a lot of Gemini energy, because Mars wants you to move and you could get that buzz. That's what it feels like a buzz. And you may spin out. So just be mindful that you, like I always say, are taking care of yourself to not go overboard. But knowing that the drive and the force to be more energetic and to get more done is likely going to be present at this time. Mars in Gemini also is, okay, so when Mars was in Taurus, he was squaring the planets in Aquarius. Okay, so that would be Saturn, Jupiter, and the Sun while the Sun was in Aquarius. Mars in Taurus was squaring, butting up frictionally against those other planets, and that was producing even more friction and feelings of just, I can't move, I can't do this, I'm angry, I'm, frustration, because it's a square, and squares are tension. Now, Mars moves into Gemini, the Sun is now in Pisces, but it's Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury are also in Aquarius, so So Mars in Gemini is actually trining those planets in Aquarius. A trine is like a blessing. Think of it that way. It's easy. It harmonizes well. So these planets are now speaking nicely to each other with Mars. So our planet of action is speaking kindly to the other planets that are in Aquarius right now because they're both air signs and they do well together. And so the communication, and now Mercury is no longer retrograde. Let's remember that. Nothing's retrograde, none of the planets. So the communication seems smoother, it flows better, it's more active, and yes, it could be more reactive, but it's easier to resolve because, again, this is a nice, trines are nice aspects, so they work well, they harmonize, they come to agreements, in a much nicer fashion than a square aspect could. Squares can come to agreements, and they often do, but not without a lot of adjusting and a lot of friction along the way. So that's another nice thing about the Mars and Gemini energy right now. Today on the 3rd, we're also under a Venus-Uranus sextile. Venus in Pisces, where Venus likes to be, is making a nice aspect with Uranus in Taurus. So again, what does that bring in? Uranus brings in unexpected, it brings in change. Venus is the planet of love and sweetness, and Venus does very well in Pisces. So this energy could potentially bring in new people, new situations, new projects, new, unconventional, out of the blue into your life, and you're being guided to explore that for what it is and looking to do things in a different way, or maybe taking into account something or someone you had not before. This is the kind of energy where you'll be presented, you could likely be presented with completely out of bounds or out of the norm for you, but that would be something for you to look at. This is a time where that could be very positive, very, very positive. And going out of your comfort zone is also a theme for March, and also releasing yourself from old hurts and burdens that you could be placing on yourself. This is a big theme for the month of March, is freedom on all levels, right? To make sure that you are living and working within your boundaries and your truth, okay? And it doesn't really matter what that means for anybody else. It's really about what that means for you, right? For you and for your own soul. And then tomorrow, March 4th, we have a Mercury-Jupiter conjunction, both at 17 degrees of Aquarius. And this is really, really nice because it's like expansive communication. Jupiter expands, Mercury is communication and information. We actually had this aspect also back in February, but Mercury was retrograde, so we may have missed it or it may not have felt as clear because remember the planet of communication was backwards at that point. But now it's everything's direct, and these two are working nicely together, and we could get expansive knowledge, expansive communication. We can think of something a different way we haven't thought of before. So overall, the first 2 weeks of March especially are a time that is very, it's a word I want to use, expansive, I guess. I'll say expansive, but also informative. And you could be getting a lot of information coming towards you that is necessary for you to move you forward in whatever form or fashion that you need to, and with whatever project that you're working on or whoever you're working with. This is a good time, a good energy, and the communication should be flowing more freely, like I said, because we have a lot of softer aspects throughout the month of March. And then we get towards the end of March, and let's not forget that we move into Aries season. And so we'll have the sun moving into Aries. We'll also have the spring equinox, which is a time of renewal and rebirth as we begin the zodiac anew, starting with Aries. We also have fire energy, which is going to be very welcome at this point, because remember, we're coming off of a lot of dense energy, dense, thick energy of earth and air. And yeah, we've got a little bit of water right now, which has been really nice, but we need that fire. And that fire is going to come in towards the end of March. We'll start feeling it kick up mid-March. It's going to feel really nice. Again, motivation, moving forward. Like I said, Mars will be in Gemini until April 23rd. And, so this is a nice chunk of time, I would say, to just put the pedal to the metal and, whatever way you need to for yourself, because the energy supports it. Now, like I said before, the planets are bodies of energy. They move through the sky, and as they move through the sky, they move and they trigger things going on down here, and we all have a personal birth chart that will be working very differently from everybody else's. And so what these planets are doing does affect us on a human level here, and all very differently. So please keep that in mind when you feel certain things and you're like, oh, let me check what Mars is doing, because that is my planet of action. Oh, I feel like I'm, growing so much in this particular area. Let me check my Jupiter. I feel like my communication's been weird. Let me check my Mercury. And again, if you don't care about astrology, that's great, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to know that or check that, but it helps, because it helps you to connect to more of what I'm saying, I guess, that there is a higher order to all of this, and it isn't to make us all crazy. It's actually to help us. And the more we are aware of it, the better we can do in our own personal endeavors, just with a little bit of extra awareness. I hope that this helped you. I wanted to just quickly pick a card just for a theme for March, because I wrote down for the month of March, healing, freedom of past hurts and burdens. That's what I wrote down. So that's what March, I guess, felt like that day that I was working on with that energy. But let's see what we get for the month of March. You are worthy. Aim for what you want and believe in yourself. That's a real Mars card too. You are worthy. Aim for what you want and believe in yourself. And also, to take that one step further, knowing that the energy of March is really supporting conscious action. I'll say conscious action, because we always want to act within consciousness, right? Out of consciousness. I hope that this helps. Take really good care of yourselves. My links are below, lisasalvatore.com. I still have a few spots left for my tarot Learn to Read Intuitive Tarot course, which will kick off on March 14th. If you're interested, you can check that out on my website under my events page. You can email me with any questions. You can still sign up. If you're interested, you can check that out to see more of my style with the readings, and if it's something that fits for you. And I'll be back soon with another video, probably within the next week or two. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye.